Well, it's your buddy Smokey back in the lab one more time. And again, talking about breaking down what you already know and applying it in a different context and putting yourself in musical situations you normally won't or haven't, and still being able to use what you already have just in another way. By changing context, you can change the way you look at what you have. Now, this is kind of a slow, swingy, semi bluesy, semi country kind of feel, depending on what you wind up doing to it. But changes, humidity, and all that. Welcome to New Orleans. First, the changes are E to G sharp 7 to C sharp minor, and then a quick A to B in the fourth bar. So E, G sharp 7 to accent the 6, the C sharp, 4, 5, A, B. And that's the general idea. Now, what you can do is on that E, is that's going to be the 1. And then that G sharp 7, there's the 3. But Smokey, 3s are minor, right? Yes, normally they are. But here's a little trick. You can substitute other values of chords, but still use the same motion of the formula. That's a little trick that people use. So, new strings and humidity just don't tend to work out very well. Excuse me one moment. Okay, no, we're good there. So quite possibly the intonation needs to be helped out a little bit. For those of you that don't know, guitars set up in a normal fashion aren't actually in tune or intonated quite properly because of the way the nut, I know, right? That little plastic part or bone part or brass or graphite part the strings roll through at the end of the neck, they aren't actually cut intonated. So it's really kind of strange. The guitar itself is not actually in tune with itself. That G7, G sharp 7, we're substituting a dominant 7th chord instead of a minor chord there because that 7th chord wants to move to that C sharp minor regularly. So what we're doing is we're going 1, 3, 7 to the 6 because that G sharp 7 wants to really lean into that 6, the C sharp minor, to A, 4, 5, the B. Now what you can do over that is 1, E major pentatonic, G sharp 7. You can either do a G sharp major pentatonic, C sharp minor, minor of course, and then accent the A. And then you're back to the 1. So you can do it that way. You can solo chord by chord, or you can just treat E major pentatonic over the whole thing, as long as you're careful about what you land on the G sharp 7, because you've got an extra note in there now, that's C next to the C sharp. So you can actually add that when the chord comes by. You can like example, we've got it on a loop here. So what I did there with double stops dyad, two notes, and you apply them together as like a little pop. And that kind of helps fill up the space, especially if you're the only guitarist or the only harmony instrument in an ensemble, like with the Band-Aids, bass guitar and drums. So I approach what I'm doing a little differently in that than when I'm surrounded by other instruments where I can kind of get to lay back and find spaces. I've got to be able to take up space without taking up too much all the time. So double stops, and say we're in the E major pentatonic here. What I'll do then is grab the B and the G string together, and then do a little trill on the G string from the E to the F sharp. Do it again on the next set of strings, the D and the G, the A and the D. That's a very familiar sound. You've heard that before, you know? That's the idea. So you can play off the chord, or you can just play that one whole scale. We're going to do a little jam on it, and you get to hear a couple of examples while I shout out what's going on. So, little bluesy, can be country, can be soul, can be a lot of things. It all depends on what you apply to it. So. But you know what? The second I say tender, I pop a string. It's like when I have a cup of coffee and I go, "Oh, this is a really good cup of coffee." That's the motherfucking cup of coffee I'm gonna spill. So yeah, don't forget that when you play tender or say tender, the strings stay on. It's your buddy Smokey, but that's the idea. Is you want to listen, you want to be able to go between the parent scale and sometimes outlining the chords. It gives you options. That way you're not running stale. You know that, okay, if I've got my licks in my bag and I'm not hearing anything new, but oh shit, I've got 16